Brontis, tell me a bit about this film I'm going to see tonight. It's 23 years.
23 years after he made his last movie.
Yeah.
And it's a movie about his childhood, about his father and his mother, but mainly about his father. And it's, at the same time, it's a work of art. It's a fiction movie, and at the same time, it's a work on his own memory. And working on his own memory is to work on our family's memory. Because my father's father, Jaime, my grandfather, was a very strong, severe, hard man, non-loving father. So he has always been like a dark presence in our genealogy. He influenced a lot my father because he had someone against he had to fight, someone against a model against which he had to build himself, which is always good. But he had also a great influence in my own personal life because he's like a figure of the father that travels to my father then to me, since I'm a father too. So the father model, the figure of the father, it's something that travels through generations. And one of the links that compose this archetype in our family life was made only of darkness. So through this work, through this movie, we worked on our memory, we changed, because every memory is fiction.
Oh, really?
Yes.
People sometimes say that when you remember things, it's not what actually happened.
It's never what actually happened. It's your point of view on what happened. And you know the story about an elephant that arrives to the country of the blind. They've never had an elephant there, so all the great scientists go to study what it is and tell everyone what it is, since everybody's blind. So they start touching him. So one of them says, "Oh, it's a huge mass with no end." And the other one says, "No, no, 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 it's a very small flexible thing with little threads at the end." And each one gives his point of view from what he touches. But none of them sees the whole elephant, is able to see the whole elephant. So that's what memory does with us. We have an image of our mother, of our father, that is composed by what we have lived, by the age our way of looking at them is, but also about the legends that we have received. Your father was such a bastard. And then you say, after some time, my father was a bastard. But this is something you inherited from a situation, a conflict situation between your mother and your father. You see, you adopt souvenirs, or, oh, when you were a kid, oh, it was so great. You remember this, the turtle, we had this turtle, a bronze turtle, and you buried it in the garden because you said that turtles had for the winter to be under the earth, and we never found it again. You don't remember this, but after some time, I have told you so much this legend that you make the souvenir yours, and then you remember, yes, I buried the turtle, and you tell it to your sons as if it was the truth. That's how memory works. So, since memory is fiction, you can rewrite it, you can transform it, so that what is only a darkness character that has necessarily a kind of a toxic influence in you, you can transform it into a whole human being that has his part of shadow, but also his light. So that's what we did with this movie. And we did it as a family project. It's my father's film, absolutely his creation, but the main actor is his son, me, and he gave the part of someone he hated, someone who had a lot of resentment, to someone he loves. So like this, he can't hate the actor, so he has to do the work for himself. And for me it was very important because we went to shoot this in the town where everything happened, in the north of Chile.
Did you grow up in Chile?
No, absolutely not. It was the first time I went there. At Tocopilla, where my father spent his first 10 years, it's a very, very tiny little town in the north of Chile. Really, it's a hole somewhere. No one ever goes there. It never rains there. My father had one day of rain in 10 years. I thought this was a legend that he told me when I was a kid. But when we went to shoot over there, I talked with people who knew my father from that time, that were still living there. So, oh, you remember, Alejandro, the day it rained? So I thought it was true.
Wow, so what's the vegetation like? It must
There's
be.
nothing, it's dry. You have the Pacific Ocean, about at the most 1 kilometer of land, and then the Cordillera that starts like really like this. So it's an incredible place. And we shot in the streets where things happen, in the house where my father lived. And it was really, but it was like part of the process, you know, the house burned 3 years ago. It was still there, intact, and it burned 3 years ago because of an electric thing. So when we went there, we rebuilt the house for the movie, as the set, the shop and everything. But at the same time, it was like exactly corresponded to what we were doing with the movie. We were rebuilding the memory. Not lying, not inventing something that didn't exist. It's not about changing everything and inventing something else. You have to stick to the facts, but not to the interpretation of the facts, not to the point of view on the facts. So we rebuilt it like a movie set. So it corresponded to what we were doing with the movie. We were rebuilding our memory to make a human being of this person. Hi.
It's great.
It's a little resume of the movie, but it's a little movie, it's an adventure, something happens. It's a whole process. And, you know,
And where did
maybe
you grow up? Did you grow
Well,
up
I grew up in
New York?
many places. You know, my father, when I was a kid, he said, "Your ta patrie." That's how you say to patrie. It's not your country. It's more than the country, la patrie. But your country is the sole of your shoes. Because
How beautiful is that?
yes, I was born in Mexico. I was there until 3. Then from 3 to 6.5, I was in France and Poland. From 6.5 to 9, I was in Mexico. I had 10 and 11 in New York, 12 in France, 13 in Mexico, 14 in France. Blah, blah, blah. I established in France when I was almost 17. And from there on, I stayed there.
Ah, so you're there now.
I'm there now, yes. Yes, I'm a French citizen.
And yeah, I live in Paris too, 23 years. But, and you're, what sign are you? Because I know your father reads tarot cards. I've never been to visit.
What?
Astrologically, what sign are you? Because I imagine...
Me? What sign I am?
When are you
I'm
born?
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Yeah.
What date? November?
No, October 27th.
Okay.
So now I hope that when you publish this interview, a lot of people are going to say hello.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. It's very soon. It's very soon now.
It's great. Yeah, mine just was last week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I have a moon in Scorpio. So it must have been quite a fascinating life. You speak many languages, I guess.
Yes.
How many?
4. English, more or less, at this hour of the morning. But French, Spanish, Italian. It's also because I'm an actor, so with theater I've been traveling and making plays. And the last play I'm doing, that is a project I did with my father too. It's called The Gorilla. I performed the 4 languages. So art has taught me a lot of things, in particular to speak different languages. And the trips. When you're a kid, you know, you have to adapt yourself. Every time I was put in public school, so to really adapt very quickly.
Fantastic. And the Gorilla, where is it playing?
I played 6 months in Paris 2 years ago. Then I was on tour in France, and I've now started the Spanish version tour. So I played in Chile, and last June I was 1 month in Buenos Aires. I'm going to Morelia Festival for La Danza de la Realidad, so I'll try to make some contacts there because I want to play in Mexico for an emotional thing. A month. And I've been approached by someone who would be interested to do it in New York in English. But it's a long-term project, I think. 2 years from now, something like that.
Fantastic.
That will be the end of that play I've been playing now for 4 years. So.
What's it about?
It's based on a Franz Kafka story. And it's a gorilla, an ape, who's captured in the forest. And through a whole adventure, a whole process, he becomes human. So he's recognized by the academy. He receives a diploma for his achievement because he learns to talk and to adapt himself to the society. And the play, it's his speech when he receives this prize. And in this speech, he tells his life. So it's a very physical play. It's actually his life, all his process. But it's about, obviously, it's about mankind, about human society, and he becomes more human than the humans. Well, if you know, the term human doesn't mean nice. If you really look at humanity, right?
Wow.
It's much more diverse, rich. So, and then he goes to the end of his adventure, and he realizes that there's something else than that. So I won't tell you the end. But so half the text is Franz Kafka, half the text is Jodorowsky. He wrote the text, and I worked on the la matière du texte, the material of the text, the vocabulary, the words, the rhythm, and technically to make it breathable, because it's a very physical play, and it's not to show an exhausted actor by the physical effort, so you have some technical things to do with the text. So that's what I'm doing now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time.